Okay, we're going to talk about volume of prisms today. Do you guys know what volume is? You know what that means? Anybody know what volume is? No? No idea? Okay, we're only going to look at prisms today, and we're only going to really deal with these two types of prisms. What are these prisms? What do I call this one? Triangular prism, right? What's the base of this prism? What shape is the base? Triangle. Right? Even if it's sitting like this, the base is a triangle. Agreed? Okay? And this is a rectangular prism. Does it matter which side is the base on this? No, not really at all. They're all rectangles. Okay? This one does. Triangular prism, it does matter which side is the base. Okay? So we're going to look at these two and we're going to talk about volume. Okay? Volume is, if I can get this to switch here, the number of cubic units inside a solid figure. Okay, so volume is essentially filling it. Okay, if I took sand and filled these shapes up, that's the volume. Okay, putting water in a can is the volume, or in a bottle. Okay, we're filling it. So we're talking about cubic units. Okay, if I wanted to find the volume of this room in terms of cubes, I can give you guys a whole bunch of cubes of this size and we'd have to fill the room. Could you imagine? That'd be a lot of cubes. Okay? Obviously, the bigger the cube, the less it would take, right? But if I had all cubes this size and said, we're going to find the volume of this room, we'd have to fill it with these. And this is why when we label volume, we label it as units to the third power. Units cubed. Okay, cubic units. So remember, area is like centimeters squared, feet squared, because we talk about how many squares cover it. When we talk about volume, we're talking about units cubed. Okay, so when I look at this rectangular prism, it's kind of figuring out how many cubes are in one slice, and then how many slices do you need. So when I look at this, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cubes in that slice. Everybody agree? Okay. So I could just take this slice here, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slices. So 12 times 5 is 60. I could do it that way. I could look this way and say how many cubes are on the top slice. And it's 5 by 4, so there's 20 in that slice. And then there's 3 slices. So 20 times 3 is 60. Okay, there's lots of different ways to look at it. But when we're talking about volume, it's essentially a slice, and how many slices do we need? Okay, so here is what we're going to write down for formula. So this should be on your packet, this third slide. The volume of a prism is the area of the base times the height. Okay, where it says formula, I want you to write this. V equals capital B times H. Has to be a capital B. There's a difference between a capital B and a lowercase b. Okay, so V equals capital B times H. Okay, the capital B stands for area of the base. And the H stands for height of the prism. Okay, so area of the base times the height of the prism. And that'll work for any prism, whether it's a triangular prism or a rectangular prism. Okay. So if I look at this example in the middle, I'm going to outline the base. Here's the base. What's the area of that rectangle? So to find the area of the base, Zachary, 10. We would do 5 times 2. And then we take the 10 times the height. The height is right here, which is 3. 10 times 3 is 30. How many of you remember doing length times width times height? Right? So some of you remember that. And that's great for rectangular prisms. Length times width times height. That doesn't work so well for triangular prisms. Okay? So that's why we're going to follow this formula. Area of the base times the height for every problem we do. Let's try a couple more. Okay, look at this one. What shape is the first one here? Caleb? Triangular prism. So if I asked you to outline the base, if I asked you to trace the base, where is the base? Zachary?
The triangle.
The triangle. Okay, this is the base. Okay? If this is the base, where's the height? Where's the height? Which number on that prism is the height? Caleb, what do you think?
5.
Not the 5. Brinley. The 7. This is the height of the prism. Okay, there's a difference between the height of the triangle and the height of the prism. Okay, the height of the prism has to be the distance between the two bases. Does that make sense to everyone? Do you see the difference between those things? Okay, so remember, this triangular prism is sitting on its side. If we flip it up, we'd have to think about how tall it really is. Okay, so I'm going to start by writing the formula down. V equals capital B times H. Okay, and I would suggest when you do your homework tonight, you do the same thing. Okay, let's start with the capital B. The base is a triangle, so how do I find the area of that triangle?
6 times 7.
Careful, the triangle. So you almost have to ignore everything else and only look at the triangle right now. How do I find the area of that triangle? Brooklyn.
6 times 5.
Close. Remember, it's a triangle.
Oh, divided by 2.
Yeah. So we have to do 6 times 5 divided by 2 because it's a triangle. Okay, 6 times 5 is 30 divided by 2 is 15. Then we have to times that by the height of the prism. What did we say the height of the prism is? 7, right? The height of the prism is 7. So we're going to do 15 times 7. 15 times 7 is 105. It would be feet cubed. Okay, so area of the base times the height. Okay, so look at the next one. What shape is the next one? Kayla. Rectangular prism. Doesn't matter which side I choose for the base. It really doesn't. So I'm going to pick this side right here. I'm going to call this my base. Okay. So to find the volume, it's area of the base times the height. We're going to use that over and over and over. Okay, how do I find the area of this rectangle right here? Just that rectangle. What do I do? Really? 8 times 2 is 16. Then we have to times that by the height. I've already used these two numbers, so what's the height of the prism? I can't use the 8 or the 2 again, so which number do I have to use? Zachary. The 6. The 6 is the height. So 16 times 6. Okay. Is 96 feet cubed. Questions there? Any questions there? Okay, flip the page. Okay, we're going to look at a couple of word problems. And here it gets a little bit tricky because I think it's helpful to have a picture. How many of you would agree pictures help you? Do you know how to draw a rectangular prism? Some of you do, some of you don't. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I draw it. Okay, so this says it's an ink cartridge for a printer. Is 5 centimeters by 3 centimeters by 4 centimeters. What's the volume of the ink cartridge? So it's a rectangular prism. I draw a rectangle. This is how I do it. And then I draw another rectangle, and I connect them. Okay, I'll do it again. I draw a rectangle, and then another rectangle kind of offset, and then just connect the corners. To me, that's a really easy way. We've got a box. I don't care how you draw it. Some people do it totally different. Some people might do this, a rectangle, and then they just draw 3 lines and connect it. I don't care which way you do it. Okay, but the picture might help you. Or you find a different picture on your page and use that to help you. So it says it's 5 centimeters by 3 centimeters by 4 centimeters. Does it matter where I put the numbers? Not really, okay? Because it really doesn't matter. I'm going to label this one 5 by 3 by 4. Okay. Volume is area of the base times the height. So this, I'm going to call this my base. Right here, outlined in black. And this one, it would be this right here. What's the measurements on the base? Measurements on the base are? Name it? You had it. Which one? 5 and? What's the other one?
3.
3, yeah. So 5 times 3 is 15. So we've done the base times by the height. What's the height of the prism? Really? 4. So 15 times 4 is 60 centimeters cubed. Here's our answer. Okay. All right, the next one says a section of an airport runway is a rectangular prism measuring 2 feet thick, 100 feet wide, and has a volume of 3 million cubic feet. How long is the runway? Okay, here's a picture of it. Something like this. It's 100 feet. Actually, it's at 100 feet wide, so I'm going to go 100 feet here. And 2 feet thick. We don't know how long it is. Okay? But we do know the volume. So if I'm going to do this formula, volume equals area of the base times the height, what number do I put in for V? What number should I put in for V? What's the volume? Zachary? 3 million. Let's call this the base. What's the area of that base? 100 times 2 is 200 times the height. And now let's solve it. So how long is the runway? How would we solve this? Divide
by 200.
Yeah. Divide by 200 on each side. So 15,000 feet long. Would that make sense? A runway has to be pretty long, right? In order for a plane to take off. So 15,000 feet would be our answer. Okay, one last problem. Okay, this one says find the volume of the barn. Okay, in order to do this, we need to break it into two parts. What shapes do we have here? What shapes make up this barn? Really? Would you agree it's kind of like this? Right? So those of you at home, if I were to show you this, it's kind of like this, and I could take it apart in two pieces. We can find the triangular prism, the rectangular prism, and then add them together to find the entire volume. Okay? So let's start with the triangular prism. And then we're going to add to that the rectangular prism. Okay, let's start with the triangle. Which is the base? If I ignore the bottom, I'm just looking at this triangular prism. What's the base of that triangular prism? What shape? Go ahead. The triangle, right? The triangle is our base. So volume equals area of the base times the height. So I need to start by finding the area of this triangle. How would you find the area of that triangle, Savannah?
We would move the 40 up, and
Yeah.
then it would be 40 times 10 divided by 2.
Absolutely. Move the 40 up there. So it's 40 times 10 divided by 2. So 200. Okay, that's just the triangle. Now we have to multiply that by the height of the prism. How tall is it? Brinley. Not 25 feet. Not 10. Remember, the height is the distance between the two bases. So how far is it between the two triangles? 50. Absolutely. This is the height right here. So 200 times 50 is 10,000. So we've got the volume of the top part of the barn. Now let's find the volume of the bottom. Does it matter which side I choose as the base? Nope, not at all. Volume equals area of the base times the height. Okay, it doesn't matter which one I pick, so I'm going to just pick this. This is the base. What two numbers am I going to multiply together? Caleb?
40 and 50.
40 and 50. So 40 times 50 is 2,000 times what's the height of that bottom prism? How tall is it? We already used the 40 and the 50. How tall is it? Caleb? 15. So 2,000 times 15 is 30,000. So what's the total volume? We would have to do 10,000 plus 30,000. It's a total of 40,000 feet cubed. Okay. Questions there? Okay, so here's the thing. Some of you might not have questions yet because you're like, okay, we did some. I don't know if I have questions because I haven't done it on my own yet. Okay, so we are all